Hi, this is Sean,
Hi, this is Isaac.
and this channel's called Wolf Dog Moon. And today, we're going to be taking a look at WWE, WWF / wrestling figures. And if you like this kind of content, smash that like button. Give us a subscribe, ring the bell for notifications so you don't miss out on more awesome content like this, and comment down below and share with your friends. Alright, let's get into this. So, right here I have a grouping that I set up of these awesome action figures. And then we have a couple down here in the shadows cast below. It's only because these ones are in the package still. And for example, this Kurt Angle has been signed by Kurt Angle. And then we have a very older Stone Cold Steve Austin, and collector's kind of edition in terms of how old it is. Like these made by Jakks Pacific Inc. and so is this one. And then these other action figures, who are they made by?
Made by Matel.
Okay, so these are made by Matel. Now, when I was growing up, I had a lot of action figures and toys from Matel, and I always thought they were a pretty awesome, badass toy company. And I'm glad they're still around, right?
Yeah.
I'm glad that they're still around because these figures, they're very well done in terms of the detail for the faces. I'm gonna go ahead and zoom in on Hulk Hogan. I mean, they do a great job. You got Booker T behind him. You got Ric Flair is excellent. The sculpting on his face, and then just his body proportions, they really nailed it. And then Brock Lesnar looks really good. They all look, they're very well sculpted. You got you got the Ultimate Warrior. We pretty much, these are Isaac's, and I say we because, I was watching the wrestling and I encouraged him to watch it too, and we had a good old time doing that. We don't watch the newer stuff as much, or if at all. We went to, for example, we went to a WWE event in Indianapolis. We were at the show for Raw where the Shield broke up and Seth Rollins turned on Dean Ambrose and Roman Reigns. And after that, we ended up going towards NXT and watching that predominantly for a while, and that was really awesome. And they had awesome characters and awesome wrestling, and they acted like it was wrestling. One of my pet peeves with the current iteration of WWE and just the WWE in general, as soon as they switched from WWF to WWE, there was also this philosophical change that happened, and they were never as good again, in my opinion. The philosophical change was that we're entertainers and we're sports superstars / entertainers, and they wouldn't mention wrestling, or if they did it very reluctantly and painfully, and that has hurt their product ever since. And it but they've hung in there in terms of business, and so you can't begrudge them that they made those moves probably to stay on TV and stuff, because I always feel like wrestling is one of those things where it's, the demographic is awesome, but they always want this other demographic that constantly purchases makeup and cosmetics and products like that. But wrestling, you're going to be selling more stuff, probably more to a male demographic. And Isaac, you can chime in anytime you want, but I'm going to keep saying we have pretty much most of the awesomest wrestlers in terms of both name recognition and actuality. So we got Hulk Hogan and Macho Man and your boy Ric Flair. We're just missing a few, such as Roddy Piper. If you have the Crow Sting, it'd probably be cool to have the original Sting before the dark iteration. And then we have the Undertaker, and then the Rock, and then some of the newer guys like Elias Sampson is back there if you can see him, and then Daniel Bryan is behind Finn Balor, the Demon Finn Balor, and then Bray Wyatt is back there, and then of course you have CM Punk, and Seth Rollins is arguably, in my opinion, one of the best wrestlers of the current age, where they don't want to talk about wrestling. I don't know how it is currently. Maybe that's something that's going to change. I heard that Triple H has taken over the reins of control, but you know that Vince McMahon is still pulling the strings. It's his baby. He's all of his family members are intertwined into the company, and so I still think behind the scenes he's the orchestrator, he's the puppet master. But I think Seth Rollins is one of the he would be great in any age of wrestling, and so this is what we have for these figures, and they're all around the same size, which is interesting. What do you want to chime in with, Isaac?
So I'd say that these wrestlers are pretty high quality for the ones I got. Some in stores, though, for the kind of bad ones, you'll be able to tell by the faces usually what looks bad.
Now, do they have different tiers in terms of the pricing? Because I've seen ones called Elite, and then I've seen ones that weren't called Elite. So is the Elite like a more high quality level and sculpting job?
There's some really cheap ones, and then these more high quality.
Oh, so you gotta know what you're looking for? Is that what you're saying? You have to do your research?
Usually they'll mess up the facing on action figure.
So how did you predominantly got these from like Amazon or something, or did you purchase some of these in the store? Or did I forget how we went about getting
some
these.
Some of these are from Amazon, some of them are from like Target.
Yeah, these we pretty much have a lot of the best wrestlers of the different eras. So we got a few like Brock Lesnar's from the Attitude Era, and so is Kurt Angle and Stone Cold Steve Austin, and then we got Sting, WCW Sting. Now I have a little history for me. I grew up watching WWF. It was called World Wrestling Federation, and so I remember it all, during the 80s and then the early 90s. And to me, that's still the best era of wrestling of all time. You had all these other characters and personalities and wrestlers that really filled out a roster, and the mid card and the opening bouts, and also you had the tag team division, where the tag team was some of the best wrestlers. Like you had the British Bulldogs and Davey Boy Smith, and you had the Road Warriors and Demolition. You had all these awesome, the Hart Foundation. You had a whole tag team division that was excellent. where they don't really focus as much on the tag team. And then you had other characters that were awesome. You had people like Junkyard Dog, and you had Mean Joe Brown. You had
Bad News Brown.
oh, I mean, yeah, Bad News Brown. You had, the Four Horsemen. You had all these awesome other characters. They just weren't one dimensional. Like, I think with the Cena era, for example, it suffered from a one-dimensional quality where it was Cena and then everybody else, and I think that hurt. It hurt the overall wrestling business. And then I think with the Attitude Era, it was a little bit too much. Everybody's wearing black. Everybody's pretty much the same, a version of the same character. This no nonsense. They were trying to compete with WCW at the time, Nitro, which to rewind a little bit, I had grown up with WWF, but I would go with my Uncle George's, and he had cable where we didn't, and so he had access to Ric Flair and WCW and NWO, or NWA I should say, and we used to watch it over his house, and also he got the pay-per-views, so we would watch those. So we liked the adult, no nonsense, more working man quality of like Dusty Rhodes and the NWA, and that whole era. And then we also liked the WWF, where you had more colorful characters like Hulk Hogan, the Macho Man Randy Savage, and the Ultimate Warrior. Then you had awesome guys like Roddy Piper and so on and so forth. So then going into the Attitude Era, that they call the Attitude Era, I had switched more to WCW. Like, pretty much I knew what was going on in the Attitude Era, but in my opinion, arguably, the stuff that was happening in WCW was better. So I have better memories of those, and then they, WWE, WWF, whatever you want to call them, they made the switch to focus on this Stone Cold Steve Austin character and push a more badass, no nonsense, working man, take no prisoner, John 3:16 type character. And I think that's what got them kind of over the WCW Nitro. Once WCW kind of ran out of steam a little bit, WWE was able to hang in there. They had a better distribution in terms of the TV markets in the East Coast and the North, and they just had a little bit more resources. Whereas Turner Network, they were always fighting to even have wrestling. They always wanted to put some other programming on, and you probably see how that has manifested. And then current day, I think you ended up with a one-dimensional quality with the John Cena character. And then later, the NXT really brought in some fresh blood and an awesome crop of new characters and stuff. But they they tried to still do a John Cena prototype with the Roman Reigns character, and it kind of, in my opinion, fizzled out. And maybe if you fast forward to now, maybe he can be taken more like seriously as the top person of the company. But at the time, it just, to me, Seth Rollins was much more of a wrestler. He was much more seasoned, and he checked all the boxes. And then you had someone like Brock Lesnar on the outside who could show up, and he's almost at the legend status. So we've been collecting. How long have you been collecting these now? These figures?
Say since like 2014 maybe.
Okay, so you got a pretty good collection here. This is all of the ones that you have?
Yeah.
So do we want to move on to our final thoughts, or do you have more stuff that you want to say? You're gonna have to ignore Myra's. Myra is our dog is over here, and her stomach's making all these weird noises. So there's nothing we can do. That we went about that. We went live, and I don't know. Maybe she's having issues or something. There's no way to get rid of her. If we do, she'll come over here and crash these guys, and I spent a little bit of time setting them up. Some of them are a little more easier to set up in terms of standing there, like Shawn Michaels here. However they sculpted his pants, he's very stiff, and so you kind of get, he can topple over very easy. Whereas like Finn Balor, he was easy to set up. His legs are wide apart, and Triple H, his legs are wide apart. So whereas Hogan's feet are kind of close together. So I like the sculpt job they did on these. I think that, and I also like the where you can, how they decided they put these ball joints right here on them, so you get more versatility. It's sort of like a, if you remember the old G.I. Joe figures, but these are better. They have this, they have these pivot things. I'm not sure if that what they're called, but if it's almost like a puppet's pivot. And if you know what it's called, if there's a technical term for it, put it down in the comments down below. Or if you have any of these toys and you collect them, let us know which ones you have and which ones are your favorite. And also let us know which ones that you're thinking of picking up. And also let's talk about wrestling and in a fun and friendly way, what you like and maybe what you don't like, or what you want to see. Or what's your favorite era of wrestling. I'm an old school guy. I grew up with the Macho Man. He's probably him and Ric Flair and Hogan. These three, I put him here. It's no coincidence that those three are probably my all-time favorite wrestlers. You know, the Macho Man, Randy Savage, and Hogan, but I also like Piper, and one guy I wish Isaac had was Jake the Snake Roberts. He was one of my favorites growing up, and with his snake and those just his promos that he would cut. He cut the best promos. They were so intense and stuff, but he really meant, it seemed like he meant what he was saying. And then you know, of course, you got Ric Flair here and stuff, and but there's a lot of other wrestlers that at some point would be cool to collect too, but they're like I said, Junkyard Dog. He was one of my favorites as a kid. And then you got you know, the $1 Million Man, Ted DiBiase. There was a lot of really good wrestlers. One of my favorites was Mr. Perfect. I thought in terms of wrestling skill and stuff, they picked a good gimmick for him. You know, he was very good at wrestling. He seemed to be good at a lot of things, and also he had a lot of charisma and stuff. And he was a good worker and stuff. Let's get ready to rumble.
Alright, so here are some of the wrestling figures in collection, and I have to say, my first comment is that we got a set of some of the older classic wrestlers on like Christmas or something, and it had stuff like the Ultimate Warrior, Ottomans, and stuff like that.
Yep, there was a set collection that had classic wrestlers in it. So the first wrestling thing we got had a bunch of the wrestlers in it.
And it kind of started off the collection.
say for the older wrestlers that got in with the Jack specific wrestlers, I'd say that the hands are definitely like a little large compared to the Matel wrestler action figures, at least for Stone Cold over here. See, besides that, they're kind of similar though for getting some of the main ideas, portions.
All right, is there anything else you want to add? So you like the Jack specific, but you think Mattel, these Mattel versions. I wonder why I'm not familiar with the company Jack Specifics, but Mattel is definitely a bigger brand name, so it might just been when they first started making the action figures, they were with this other smaller company, and then to take it to the next level, you have to go to the bigger toy companies like Mattel and stuff, and that's what they did. And then they're gonna come up with their own sculpts and stuff. Anything else you want to add, Emily? Which one's your favorite out of all of these?
Well, I really like the Macho Man, and I also enjoy how some of the characters, when they're in the box, it's neatly packaged and fun and really good protected. And sometimes the figures come with accessories like Macho Man's glasses, the belts, some clothes items, and yeah.
It's cool with Macho Man that they're not like, they don't take the lazy route and not like paint his eyes or whatever under the glasses, because he does have eyes under the glasses if you took them off.
Alright, so the glasses are a separate piece.
Yeah.
Yeah, he doesn't wrestle in the match with the sunglasses. So, yeah. There's attention to detail and the smart decisions. They got good quality control in that way here. So it wouldn't make sense. He doesn't wrestle him. He does wear the glasses in promos and stuff, and so that part's important because it goes along with his persona. But then when he gets in the ring, he takes them off. So they should be removable.
Sometimes the arms can get kind of loose though, but they're still hold up pretty well.
Yeah, these kind of things, the more you play with them, the more and pose them, they're gonna get loose and stuff. That's always gonna be an issue. But these are holding up pretty good. Yep. Their arms are staying up, and they got. Now it looks like obviously, in order to get the good value for these, they're gonna have. They use similar sculpts, so the hands will be this clawed kind of thing, and but sometimes they have a lot of more articulation, like so Elias Sampson just needs to hold the guitar, so and then they mix and match. They'll put a fist, so they alternate fists, and then like Brock Lesnar has his MMA type gloves. So the attention to detail is there. He's got the double claws. So, you know, they got the attention to details. And something I'd like to point out that I forgot to mention is that they were smart to get, for example, Kane. He's much bigger, and so is Undertaker, and so is Hogan. So Kane steps over the top rope, and it wouldn't make sense if he was the same size as Stone Cold Steve Austin. So they have to give away more plastic for the same price, maybe, or maybe this guy is slightly more expensive. I don't know how they do it, because his weight would be different in the package. Same thing with the Undertaker. So the attention to detail in that way, they make sure the WWE, they make sure they get these figures right, and it shows. They work hard to do it. So anything else you guys want to add? You guys play with these the most.
I think at one point they had some goofy, cartoony set or whatever. So,
that didn't work out, maybe.
yeah, that was kind of weird.
Well, they also had a cartoon on the WWE Network, and sometimes they're always reaching for this other audience that, you know, it exists, but not in reality. It's in a dream world, and they're always chasing this ghost, this dream where, oh, there's this one person, you know, but they think it's in billions of people.
So I think that just the basics are just the best.
Yep, it's just doing the basics. All right, so
Related to the movements thing, some of the newer wrestlers by them, like Stone Cold, his chest has more movements compared to some of the older guys here. This part at the bottom.
all right, so go on. You're saying that the new ones, they have better chest articulation, or these old ones had better chest?
Some of the newer ones. Some of these, the chests move more than the others.
Oh, okay. So you're saying this Stone Cold's a newer one, and it has better chest articulation, and more movement with the torso and stuff, because it looks like it's more than one piece, whereas Hogan's one piece. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. So they're getting better. They're trying to develop new ways you can pose these and stuff. They're well done. I want to say that now when I was growing up, we had He-Man, and He-Man was pretty cool in terms of, okay, he's a muscular, weightlifting looking warrior, and he was pretty cool. But I think these are better. So, like, these are better done. So the quality control that WWE has with this particular aspect of their company is, I would give them high marks. Like, whoever's in charge of, okay, action figures, we really want to make sure we produce good action figures, because that's an awesome way to sell our product to younger audiences and get them into this hobby and watching this type of entertainment. So they make sure they get these right, and you can tell. I mean, they got the boots with the laces, and the laces are a different color, and the articulation is cool, and also they make sure they nail the looks of the characters, these wrestlers, and their faces and stuff. So highly recommend these if you like wrestling and action figures. You're really getting a good value here too, because I think you can pick up some of these for around $10, I think. And I've also seen these, we go to like flea markets and stuff, and I've seen these at flea markets still in the package. And depending on, like recently, or just over the weekend, we were at a flea market, and they had an Alexa Bliss, which I'm kicking myself for not grabbing it. And it was one of these type where it was an Elite, and it was well done. It looked like her, and so that might be one place to get them. And they also had some ones that weren't in packages. So they had an old Undertaker I seen, and some of the like the WWF era wrestlers. So there was that. So my final thoughts for these. What, you gonna say something first?
Yeah. So I was gonna say also, Samoa Joe and Soul Per Angle have a different material for the clothing compared to the others. It's more felt, I think.
So it's felt. It's like a shirt. They actually give it like a shirt. And then some of them come with accessories. Like back here, Elias Sampson. We thought he was a cool type character, and I play guitar, so he was the grifter, and I instantly he was supposed to be a heel, but I was drawn to his character, and I would get a kick out of him. And he comes with a stand and a guitar, and this scarf, and so for accessories, some of them have accessories. Some of them don't, but he did. It looks pretty cool. And then, like Isaac said, Samoa Joe has a shirt, and then he has the towel. And then, Finn Balor has these attachments for this demon persona that he had, and he has they just attach. And to me, he looks like the comic book character Carnage. He's a cross between Carnage, and then he's like Kane. So to me, he has a comic book kind of gimmick to him. And then some of them we have like Ultimate Warrior with his Intercontinental belt. I think that's what it is. And we got the World Championship on Hogan. Because out of all these wrestlers, even if you had all these wrestlers today, right now in their prime, you would put the belt on Hogan. So if you can argue that in the comments if you think that what I'm saying is preposterous or you have a different opinion. But if the promotion looked like this right now and you had all these guys like this, Hogan would still have the belt. So like I said, you're welcome to argue that in the comments. Ric Flair is a heel, so in his prime, maybe he's got a faction and stuff, and maybe he has the belt sometimes too with Hogan. So maybe if this was WCW, then Hogan would be chasing Ric Flair, and Ric Flair would have the belt. But if this was the WWF version with all these guys, regardless of the era, then Hogan would have the belt. So let us know what you think in the comments, and we'll get a cool discussion going. We do love wrestling, and we like when it's called wrestling. And so whenever the current iteration, whenever they try to act like it's something else to try to sell it to people who don't like wrestling, then that's a turn off for us. It's like trying to create a comic book movie, but you don't want to talk or associate it as such as a comic book movie, and that's a turn off for me. So my final thoughts with these, they're really cool action figures, and a lot of times they allow you can get Bray Wyatt, and then you can get the older guys like Hogan and Stone Cold and Ric Flair, and then you can get even newer guys than that. And so they put a lot of work into these figures, and Mattel, they seem to be one of those companies that have hung in there and do a lot of quality work, and they give you a good value too. So I look at these as a good, really good action figures.
Yeah, I'd say they're really high quality.
Oops,
for
sorry.
the cheap price or whatever.
Yes, I mean, you can. There's only so much you can sell, toys for, and so let me see if I could back up and get them all in the shot. So yeah, this because you want your kids, and these are also these are kind of archetypes and figures to look up to. They're an ideal. These guys they're busting with muscles and all this stuff, and so it's cool to imagine yourself as one of these characters. And it'd be cool if you had like a wrestling ring. I wonder if they probably sell that, or you have to get that from a catalog or something.
Yeah, I think they do sell that.
It would have to be really big, and they would probably make it smaller than it really should be. So it'd be one of those things if you could just make one yourself. It's, you probably could, if you have a little bit of woodwork and skill or whatever, and you could just do a little bit of sewing, you probably could make your own ring. And my favorite wrestling type match of all time is, I know it's a gimmick match, but it's just so awesome, is the Royal Rumble. So that you get to see all the superstars at different points, or wrestlers, and come and go, and they get into all these different situations, and you might have heels fighting heels by accident, or faces, or you have the because to me, wrestling works the best when you have heels and faces. You have good guys versus kind of more villainous type characters. And when they try to create more anti-heroes, such as like a Roman Reigns, I think that's when the business kind of flounders and the wrestling suffers as a result. I think characters should be, good versus evil, or heel versus face. And let us know in the comments too what your favorite wrestling match is. I also always thought the concept behind the war games and how war games would play out was always cool, even though you have to have these contrived rules for the match, and like they're flipping coins and stuff. But once you look beyond that and you immerse yourself in, okay, they're trying to create this dangerous match and stuff, and you can suspend disbelief, then you can have a fun time with it. And that's what this is all about, suspension of disbelief. And these action figures let you get into the role of these different awesome characters and these wrestlers, and play out different scenarios. And you can have wrestlers wrestling from different eras that never really wrestled before. Like Hogan's never wrestled Seth Rollins, for example. He might have wrestled Brock Lesnar, I don't know, in some dark match somewhere, sometime, but I don't know. I've never seen it. So, any final thoughts, Isaac, on these?
Well, so I'd say these are some well-designed wrestlers for a cheap price.
Well, they're not cheaply made though. You get value.
Yeah, they're really for not like too expensive price. They're pretty expressive in their movements. They have some cool accessories that they could be with. And say this is pretty cool for someone who's a fan of wrestling and action figures.
Well, too, you can always, maybe if the current iteration of wrestling is not your cup of tea, or they don't call it wrestling, you can always collect these older ones where they did. The Macho Man and Hogan, and at some point the business will have to shift where they call it what it is. And we're rapidly heading to that point where you're gonna have to call, if it walks like a duck and talks like a duck, and then it's a duck. And, if it acts like a duck too, you're gonna have to call this stuff what it is. And being cute and playing around and trying to tiptoe around to try to sell products to anyone and anything and by any means, and whether it makes sense or not. I think those days are rapidly ending, and we're heading towards this sort of event where you're gonna have to call what you do, and you're gonna have to be in your lane, and you're gonna have to stay in your lane, and you're gonna have to do it well. And I think that these Mattel toys, they're a toy company, and they are good at what they do. They create good value, very good sculptures with good articulation, and good quality too. So at a good affordable price, and they're doing it well, and they know what they are, and they're not trying to do something else. So we hope that this video finds you having an amazing day, and we hope you have a blessed day. Signing.